Those great people at World of Learning asked me to record a short video on my thoughts about a topic on speed, and it comes in two parts: delivering learning at the speed of business and enabling a more responsive L&D team. So what do you immediately think of? Speed? Agility? Just doing what we're doing but doing it faster? I don't think it's as simple as that. But first, why me? My name is Paul Matthews and my company is People Alchemy. Primarily, we're a software company with some new generation learning software platforms which focus on experiential learning and learning transfer. In addition, I've written 3 books that look at the strategic ways that L&D can operate to get business improvement. One thing I like to say is that I help people translate their reality. I help L&D people see what's really going on and what to do about it. So, learning at the speed of business. Let's unpack it. What is the speed of business? Of course, it might not be a business, it could be any organization, but it will be executing a strategy. Hopefully, the strategy is more than just a haphazard, what should we do next? Hopefully, it's planned and in pursuit of a shared vision. If not, perhaps you need a new business strategy. To execute this strategy, people in the business need to be capable of doing what needs to be done when they are asked to do it. Some of this required capability at the point of work is undoubtedly dependent on learning. So, to execute a strategy, we need competent people at their posts when the business needs them there. There are, of course, many other factors involved in addition to having competent people, but here we're just considering the learning elements. Think of the speed of business as the speed of the strategy. Whatever the strategy demands governs the speed, and if the people can't keep up, the business will fail to deliver on that strategy. When execution of a strategy fails, it's often because it was overambitious, given the people and infrastructure available. L&D needs to be thinking ahead of time what people will be required to do as the strategy unfolds, and how they need to prepare those people to participate effectively. Business strategies almost always require change. It's a rare strategy indeed that says, let's keep doing exactly what we're doing for the next 12 months. Now, change implies that new activities and behaviours will be required. Clearly, for employees to keep up with the changing demands of executing the strategy, some learning is needed. It's also obvious that some learning is needed upstream of the need for that learning. It's too late to learn a new play when the team is on the pitch and in the game. You need to predict what the strategy will require, and therefore the speed of the business, based on the best information you have. This is why it's essential that you're basing your L&D strategy on a sound and well-articulated business vision and strategy. Now, you also need learning at the point of work on a just-in-time basis. To reuse the analogy of the team on the pitch, people need to react to the way the game changes and learn and adjust the way they play the game while they're on the pitch. A good model to use to think about this is the 5 Moments of Learning Need model developed by Con Gottfredson and Bob Mosher. They have a new website going live later in October, www.5momentsofneed.com. That's using the digit 5, 5momentsofneed.com. According to the model, there are 5 moments of learning need. First moment is when people are learning something for the first time. They call this the new. Now, the second is more, expanding breadth and depth of what people know. The third moment is apply, when people are using what they know and need some reminders and support. The fourth is solve, when fixing problems because things don't go as planned. And the fifth is change, when changing what they know to cater for a new reality, to cater for change. Now, you need to cater for all of these 5 moments of learning need, some of which are upstream and some of which are instream, in order to support the execution of the strategy at the speed set within the strategy. Now, the second part of our topic was enabling a more responsive L&D team. What does that mean? Quicker to respond? Better response? More useful response? more flexible response, responding at a richer level than just being an order taker and delivering a service. Think about it, my garage is responsive. They answer the phone every time and are very welcoming. The problem is they're too busy and they can't fit my car in for a service. So we're going to be thinking about, what does response really mean? What kind of response does the business want? But first, it's important to know what response the business thinks it currently gets. The business view of what they get from L&D is governed by the touch points that they have with L&D. So what are all these touch points? To figure out the touch points, you need to consider everyone from the business who comes into contact with L&D in some way. Perhaps as a delegate, operations manager, as a member of the senior team, and so on. What does each of these segments of the L&D audience think of L&D? There's a lovely quote from Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who says that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. What other people think of L&D is the brand of L&D to them. Now, is part of that brand slow? Is part of that brand non-responsive? If they wanted one thing about L&D to improve, what would that be? It's important to remember that the perception people have of L&D may be quite different to what L&D thinks about itself. Depending on their prior experiences and touch points, they may well have a very skewed idea of who L&D is and what they do. If there's a mismatch here, and there usually is by the way, people normally think a lot less of L&D than what it can deliver, and this is a problem. They will undervalue L&D. They won't ask for things that it could deliver, but they don't think it can. They will all too readily blame L&D if a problem occurs, and so on. It's really difficult to satisfy an audience who don't really believe in you. It's also important to understand the difference between want and need. What the business wants from L&D is limited by their perception of the brand of L&D, whereas what they need is probably much more than that. Most senior L&D people I speak with say they could deliver much more to the business than they do if only the business would ask for it and trust them. What I'm trying to get at here is that responsiveness is in the eye of the beholder. And if L&D could be and wants to be far more than what the beholder currently sees, then L&D needs to change its brand. Now, branding is a marketing exercise, so go and buy your buddies in marketing a drink. Get them to help you develop and promote a brand for L&D that matches your aspirations. Of course, you then have to live up to those aspirations. You have to deliver. So L&D must also be prepared to learn at the speed of its own business, at the speed of its own strategy. By the way, you can get a good idea of your current brand by simply noticing what people come to L&D and ask for, and their assumptions about how and when you will deliver it. Okay. Let's get back to our topic, which is enabling a more responsive L&D team. If you're tempted by the answer of running faster, this is certainly possible, but probably not sustainable. And chances are, over the last few years of budget cuts and more pressure, you've already reached the practical limits on the speed that you can operate at. So if you need to be thinking about other changes, let's look at a couple of changes you will almost certainly have to bake into your L&D strategy to meet the obligations of your new brand in terms of speed and responsiveness. There is more and more talk in L&D circles about becoming agile and using agile methodologies that are similar to those already used in many software projects. This works well if you have a program that will roll out over time to a significant number of participants. Rather than design the whole program and then start building it, start with a small piece and then test it and get feedback from your customer and then build the next piece. With this iterative process, you'll end up with a different program than if you had designed the whole thing in one hit from the beginning. Given the collaborative nature of Agile, which way do you think will cater more for the needs of the business and therefore be seen as more responsive? Chances are, after a few iterations, you'll have something that can be used even if it is still a long way short of the full program you're developing. So start using it and gaining benefits from it, and then feedback from your customer will help with the next iteration. Another change that also needs to be baked into your L&D strategy is performance consultancy. This is about getting more efficient, so you only do stuff that makes a difference and stop doing stuff that makes little or no difference. Just speeding up and doing more and faster what the customer doesn't need is not good for anybody. Performance consultancy for L&D is a process whereby you work with the business to find out what they really need as opposed to what they say they want. Want and need are different, and often they're not aligned. If you get what you want, but it's not what you need, you won't get the results you're seeking. The performance consultancy process should help the manager with the performance problem understand what they really need and make sure their wants align with this need. And of course, their need will be aligned with the business strategy that they're trying to execute, or at least it should be, either right now or because they know that sometime soon the strategy will require some changes. Using performance consultancy, because of its link to the business strategy, ensures you deliver at the speed of the business. In fact, using performance consultancy is the only way you can truly align your L&D initiatives to the business strategy. And here I'm talking about performance consultancy, which is not learning consultancy. There's a big difference, and yet many people in L&D get these two confused. Performance consultancy starts with the premise that there's a performance problem, but we have no idea what's causing it, and we have no idea what the solution will be. We're entering the process without any presupposition about what will come out the other end in terms of a solution. On the other hand, learning consultancy starts from the premise that the output will be a learning solution. Consider the situation where a manager comes and says, "I want this training course yesterday," expecting speed and immediate compliance with their demand. If you accept their request for a learning solution, which is, by the way, often a training course, and what they ask for won't make much difference because it is the wrong solution, you're simply clogging up your L&D resources with the wrong work. This will slow you down and make you less responsive as a department. It will waste your scarce L&D budget, and you'll probably also get blamed for an unsuccessful program. Many performance problems in the workplace, and in my experience well over half of them, are not due to any lack of knowledge or skill, so a learning solution is unlikely to fix the problem. And yet so often, improving knowledge and skill is what the business asks for. It's what they want. They assume that if people are not performing, that there's something wrong with the people, and therefore they need fixing by L&D. If a manager comes to you with a current burning problem, it's clear they've let things get out of hand and now they're trying to palm this problem off on you. They want you to take their people away and do some L&D magic and then give them back a fully operational team. What's also obvious from an outsider's perspective is that it's almost certain that the training course or learning intervention they're asking for is not a total solution to their pressing problem, and indeed, it might not even be part of any viable solution. In order for L&D to become more responsive, paradoxically, it has to learn to say no. It has to filter inbound requests to understand which ones are worth L&D time and effort and which ones are not. L&D has to know when it can be part of a viable solution and when it probably can't. If you're able to say no and avoid doing a lot of the L&D work that is currently not producing much in the way of results for the business, you will have more resources available to respond better when the business needs are provable and where L&D can reliably help. However, you obviously can't just say no gratuitously and randomly. You have to have a basis upon which to filter people's learning requests, and performance consultancy enables this filter. When you do say no, make sure they go away with a plan, thinking they have a good interaction, a good touch point that has been helpful to them in solving the performance issue, even though it transpired after the performance consultancy that it wasn't a learning issue at all. Again, performance consultancy helps you set this filter in place and enable you to say no with reasons. After all, you don't want a situation where the brand of L&D becomes the people who say no and offer nothing else instead. So performance consultancy is one of the most important tools in helping L&D become more responsive to the needs of the business. So, do performance consultancy first to figure out whether any kind of learning initiative is a potential solution to the presenting problem. Only if that performance consultancy confirms that some learning is needed, should you then enter into a learning consultancy process to decide how and when to deliver that learning. And by the way, performance consultancy, we save you quite a lot of money because you'll find you're saying no on a fairly regular basis until people get used to the idea that they will have to go through this consultancy process to, in effect, bid for your time and effort. When you're challenged about delivering learning at the speed of the business or being more responsive, first look to your brand and decide if the challenge is reasonable and what you are going to do about it. Next, start learning to work with the rest of the business as a performance consultant when you engage with them on a new project, and retrofit performance consultancy to existing projects wherever you can. Of course, you do need to deliver results, so think about becoming more agile and adopting an iterative program design methodology, and by the way, also designed for learning transfer. By learning transfer, I mean embedding and then sustaining learning so it has a business impact and directly assists the execution of the business strategy. It affects behavior. I mean, learning without learning transfer is a bit like buying paint and then leaving it in the tin. That's just crazy. So take a step back. It's very easy to just think about doing and doing faster. We need to take a step back and think about what it is we need to be doing and why we need to be doing it. And this means thinking about our customer, the business, what they really need, even if they don't know what that is yet. This topic really got me thinking, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I'll be around both days at the World of Learning show, and the place to find me will be our stand, which is right near the entrance, stand number D10. So do drop by and have a chat about this topic, learning at the speed of business, or indeed anything else to do with learning and learning strategy. I'd really be delighted to have a chat with you.